I lift my champagne glass, meeting Dad's eyes across the dining table. His smile, the one that still turns him into the father I remember from childhood, finally reaches his blue eyes for the first time today. Late afternoon sunlight filters through the bay windows, glinting off the cut crystal glasses Mom once collected. Dad built those windows himself, angled perfectly to capture the western light, just as he built nearly everything in this home, from the coffered ceilings to the built-in bookshelves still lined with Mom's gardening encyclopedias. To 72 years, I say, my voice steadier than I feel. And to many more, right here in the home you and Mom built. The salmon I spent hours preparing, wild-caught, cedar-planked, brushed with Mom's maple glaze, rests neatly on Grandma Cooper's china. The pear and arugula salad with candied walnuts sits waiting in Mom's serving bowl. The Marionberry galette cools on the counter, its scent mixing with the fresh roses I cut from Mom's garden this morning. Every detail planned carefully, every touch meant to make Dad's birthday perfect. Then Clayton stands abruptly, straightening, his charcoal suit jacket, the kind that costs more than I earn in a month working remotely in marketing. His easy confidence fills the room as he taps his knife against his glass. The sound cuts sharply through the warm air. While we're giving toasts, he says, voice steady with that practiced authority he's honed at Ridgeway Capital, I have some news that'll make Dad's life even better. He places a hand on Dad's shoulder. The power of attorney has been transferred to me. Next week, the house goes on the market. Dad's moving to Cedar Ridge Manor. My champagne glass slips from my hand. My fingers suddenly numb. It shatters. Against the hardwood floor Dad laid himself 35 years ago, each plank handpicked for its grain. The sound barely registers. I'm staring at Clayton's satisfied smile, at Clarissa's hand gripping Dad's other shoulder, and at Dad's confused blinking. It's for the best, Leonard, Clarissa says, her voice syrup smooth with an edge of steel. Her ash blonde hair is pulled into a tight bun, clinical, efficient, every movement measured. You've been so tired lately, remember? The room tilts. The salmon grows cold on its fine china plates as bile rises in my throat. Dad's eyes, Mom's favorite feature, scan the room in confusion. But this is my house, he says softly, uncertain. Eleanor and I built it together. I grip the table's edge, struggling to breathe through the pressure closing around my chest. The words crash into me like waves. Cedar Ridge Manor. Next week. Power of attorney. Market. Each one hits like a wrecking ball to the life I've built over the past 2 years. Dad never agreed to sell this house. I manage, my voice distant in my own ears. This is Mom's home. A memory surfaces, painfully clear. Mom kneeling in the garden soil, 10-year-old me beside her, planting the rose bushes that still bloom in the backyard, her hands guiding mine, showing me how to press the earth just right. These will be here for decades, Stevie, she'd said. That's why we plant roots, so something beautiful keeps living after us. Those same roses still bloom every summer, visible through the kitchen window where Dad drinks his morning coffee. I left my $92,000 marketing job when Dad began forgetting appointments. When I found 6 gallons of milk in the fridge because he couldn't remember he'd already bought some. When checks started bouncing because he'd forgotten to deposit his pension. Then came the diagnosis, early cognitive decline. Not full dementia, not yet, but heading there. The job was replaceable. Dad wasn't. Dad wasn't himself. Clayton's sudden concern finally made sense. His visits had become more frequent only after Dad's diagnosis, always bringing up finances, always finding ways to be alone with him. While I spent every day caring for Dad, Clayton was quietly planning this. Dad's eyes sharpen for a moment, a flicker of clarity cutting through the haze that's clouded him all day. Eleanor's roses, he whispers. I promised her I'd never leave them. Clarissa squeezes his shoulder, her manicured nails pressing into the fabric of his favorite blue shirt. Leonard, she says softly, remember what the doctor said about getting upset? It's not good for your heart. My logical mind pushes through the shock. Dad's confusion feels different today, less like his usual forgetfulness and more like something deeper. His movements are slow, his eyes dull in a way I've never seen. When did Clayton get power of attorney? I wonder. Dad never mentioned signing anything. I step between him and Clarissa, positioning myself firmly. Nothing happens until I see this POA, I say. Dad doesn't leave until he decides to. Clayton laughs, a sound that's both familiar and foreign. It's the same laugh from our childhood bike races, now warped with adult arrogance. Always the dramatic little sister, he sneers. This isn't your call. It never was. I look around at the house, every beam and doorway measured by Dad's hands, every wall painted under Mom's direction. This is where Dad carried Mom across the threshold where they raised us, where she passed away, and where her garden still blooms. Stevie, Clarissa says, her tone cool and professional. Your father needs proper care. Keeping him here is selfish when he could have full-time medical support. The imbalance hits me. Clayton holds supposed legal authority. Clarissa controls Dad's medication. Together, they're a united front, against Dad's wishes, against his best interests. Dad's eyes don't look merely confused anymore. It's not forgetfulness, it's sedation. While Clayton talks about Cedar Ridge Manor's luxury memory care units, I spot Dad's weekly pill organizer on the sideboard. When Clarissa turns away, I quietly slip it into my pocket, guided by instinct more than logic. I lean close to Dad, holding his frail hand, the same one that once guided mine while teaching me to hammer nails and measure twice before cutting. Dad, I whisper, I won't let them take your home. I promise. Stepping onto the back porch, I breathe in the evening air, trying to steady myself. My hands shake as I dial Uncle Gordon. They're trying to sell Dad's house. I manage, my voice breaking. Slow down, Stevie, Gordon says calmly, the same reassuring tone that made him such a respected real estate lawyer before retirement. When did Clay get power of attorney? Len never told me. I don't know, I admit, watching a hummingbird hover near Mom's fuchsia. But Clarissa's showing brochures for Cedar Ridge Manor and Dad seems drugged, Gordon. Not just confused, something's wrong. Document everything, he says after a pause. I'll be there first thing tomorrow. Call Dr. Morgan, she specializes in elder care. She'll know what signs to look for. I take a deep breath, resting a hand on the porch railing Dad replaced last summer. Should I confront them now? I ask. Not yet, Gordon advises. If they're doing what you think, confronting them without proof will only make them more careful. When I step back inside, Clarissa is showing a realtor's business card to Dad's old friend, Bill Harrison. Whispers ripple through the room as I collect empty plates. So sudden, someone murmurs. Poor Len. Is Stevie overreacting? I watch Dad through the dining room doorway as he sits in his favorite armchair, looking lost in the home he built. The same home where he once taught me to measure lumber and mix concrete. Where he and Mom slow danced every anniversary until she passed. Dad built this house brick by brick for her. I won't let them take it from him. 3 days after the birthday disaster, my hands shake as I stare at the papers spread across Dad's mahogany desk, the one he refinished after finding it abandoned at a yard sale 20 years ago. The grain of the wood seems to ripple under the documents, each one more incriminating than the last. Clayton's consulting invoices stare back at me. $58,400 billed to Dad at 4 times the market rate. The itemized services are vague. Financial assessments, property management consultations. Each invoice bears Clayton's company letterhead. Ridgeway Capital's sleek logo gives a false air of legitimacy to what is clearly theft. Bank statements reveal Clarissa's involvement. $4,200 in cash withdrawals simply labeled as household expenses. Dad's refrigerator contains only a half-empty carton of milk and pantry shelves stocked with canned soup I bought last week. Nothing that justifies thousands in cash. My stomach twists when I find text messages on Dad's phone, forwarded to his email from 6 months ago. Clayton to Clarissa. Cedar Ridge Manor has an opening next quarter. Time to start laying groundwork with Dad. Mention how hard maintaining the house has become. The doorbell rings. I slip the evidence into a folder and tuck it in my laptop bag before opening the door to Uncle Gordon. His silver hair is still precise, military style, but worry lines deepen around his eyes. You look like hell, Stevie, he says, pulling me into a hug smelling of Old Spice and coffee. I feel worse. I lead him to the kitchen and pour the coffee I've kept warm. They've been planning this for months. Gordon sets his weathered leather briefcase on the counter and pulls out a manila folder. I found something at my office, he says. It's the POA Clayton is using, dating back to when Dad had hip surgery 3 years ago, before any cognitive issues. I grip the counter. How is that even legal? It's not straightforward, Gordon says. The document has no expiration. Technically, it's still valid, but given Dad's current condition, it's highly questionable. Another doorbell rings. Dr. Rachel Morgan arrives, her salt and pepper hair in a practical bun, medical bag in hand. Within minutes, she reviews Dad's medications at the kitchen table. These dosages don't match what I prescribed last month, she says, tapping the orange prescription bottles. Her finger stops at one from Westside Pharmacy. This should be 5 milligrams, not 10. And this one I never prescribed at all. A cabinet door slams in the hallway. Clarissa emerges, phone pressed to her ear, lowering her voice when she notices us. I silently move closer, stopping just behind the doorway. Once the house sells, we'll have enough for the downtown penthouse, she murmurs. The market assessment came in higher than expected, nearly 7 figures. Cold rage hits me as the pieces fall into place. Dad's growing confusion coinciding with larger withdrawals. Clayton's sudden help arriving right when cognitive symptoms appear. I return to the kitchen and meet Gordon's eyes. The house was meant for all of us, I whisper. Mom's will specified it stay in the family. Dr. Morgan flips through her notes. Leonard's retirement savings are being depleted at an alarming rate. At this pace, they'll be gone in 18 months, my laptop pings. I click it open, blood draining from my face. Clarissa's email, still connected to Dad's desktop, shows messages about interviewing home care agencies in Arizona, where Clayton owns a vacation property. They're not just selling the house, I whisper. They're planning to move him across the country. I pull out my journal, where I track Dad's good and bad days. Patterns emerge with sickening clarity. His worst confusion always follows Clarissa handling his medication. When I administer his pills, cognition improves within days. You've been documenting this? Gordon asks over my shoulder. Just tracking symptoms, I reply, flipping through the pages. But see, every time he agrees to something Clayton wants, it's after Clarissa's been in charge of his meds for several days. Dr. Morgan examines the pill organizer I took from the birthday party, comparing its contents with prescription labels. They don't match. Some pills aren't in any of his bottles. Strategic clarity replaces my initial shock. I photograph the pills, organizer, and bottles, labeling each image with date and time. My marketing brain kicks in. Evidence, documentation, chain of custody. They're not just opportunistic, I say, voice steadier than I feel. They're actively causing harm. Gordon's expression hardens. The POA is questionable at best, if Dad was medicated when he supposedly signed it. We need to know what we're dealing with, Dr. Morgan says. Why the sudden urgency to move him? The answer comes when Gordon searches public records. Clarissa's financial troubles include $38,000 in credit card debt, mostly jewelry purchases. Clayton's name appears in a Business Journal article about a failed tech startup. $145,000 investment gone wrong. The front door opens. Clayton strides in wearing a tailored suit that probably costs more than my monthly rent. Clarissa intercepts him in the hallway, but their voices carry. We need to move up the timeline, Clayton says. Cedar Ridge requires $85,000 upfront. Once we sell this place, we'll release enough equity to cover it and still come out ahead. Clarissa lowers her voice. What about Stevie? Dad's signature is on those documents. If she objects, Adult Protective Services might question her ability to care for him. A woman who quit her job, has no stable income, and is isolating her father from proper medical care? Who do you think they'll believe, us or her? My hands tighten into fists. They're not cartoon villains twisting mustaches. They're worse. They believe they're doing what's right, and that makes them far more dangerous. Dad would want us to preserve the family wealth, Clayton continues, not see it drained by assisted living. From the hallway, I hear Clarissa rehearsing her lines. Your father gets confused, Stevie. He agreed to this when he was having a good day. I meet Gordon's eyes across the kitchen just as Dr. Morgan snaps her medical bag shut. We need to act quickly, Gordon says. The good news is I've reviewed our options. We'll need new POA documents that reflect Len's current wishes. Let's talk in the garden, I suggest. Somewhere private. 10 minutes later, we're gathered under Mom's old maple tree. Sunlight filters through spring leaves, casting patterns across Gordon's face as he explains the plan. Clayton's using an outdated power of attorney, he says. We can challenge it, but we need proof of Len's mental capacity when he isn't over-medicated. Dr. Morgan nods. I can verify his capacity on good days. He's still able to make decisions when properly medicated. Timing is crucial. I breathe deeply, feeling the soil under my shoes, the same soil where Mom once taught me patience. I've accepted a remote marketing job, I tell them. It doesn't pay what I used to earn, but it's enough to fund what we need to do. I won't let them win by wearing us down financially. Gordon places a steady hand on my shoulder. We'll need medical records, financial statements, witness accounts. This won't be fast or easy. Neither was building this house, I say, glancing up at the windows Dad installed by hand. But it was worth it. So is this. A light breeze carries the scent of Mom's roses. For the first time since the birthday party, something sharper than fear stirs inside me. Purpose. I won't just protect Dad, I'll protect everything he and Mom built together, whatever it takes. I snap another photo of Dad's pill organizer, documenting the small blue tablet hidden among his prescriptions. 7 days of careful observation have revealed a pattern so troubling my hands shake as I label each image by date and time. There. It is again, I whisper, zooming in. The blue pill appears every other day, always in the evening slot, always when Clarissa prepares his medication. Dr. Morgan's voice echoes in my head from yesterday's call. That medication isn't on your father's prescription list, Stevie. It's a sedative strong enough to impair cognition when combined with his other drugs. The living room looks like a command center. Medication logs cover the table Dad refinished last spring. Financial records show Clayton's excessive consulting fees. Printed messages between Clayton and Clarissa discuss keeping Dad manageable for realtor visits. My phone buzzes, a text from Gordon's security cameras installed in the living room and hallway. All legal. Cloud storage only you can access. Relief floods through me. After Clarissa's friends toured the house last week, people supposedly admiring the craftsmanship, the cameras were no longer optional. Dad had been especially confused that day, barely recognizing neighbors we've known for decades. That evening, as I work in the garden, the first notification from the new security system appears on my phone. Eleanor's roses need pruning, and the familiar routine helps me focus. The alert shows movement in the kitchen, Clarissa standing at the counter with Dad's pill organizer open. I freeze, pruning shears paused mid-cut, watching through my phone as she glances over her shoulder before taking something from her pocket. Her back blocks the view briefly, but when she steps away, I can see she's rearranged tomorrow's pills. For the first time since that birthday dinner, the balance of power subtly shifts toward me. No longer am I relying solely on suspicion. I have evidence. The most damning proof comes 2 days later. Gordon forwards security footage he reviewed overnight. Clayton sitting at Dad's desk, practicing Dad's signature on blank documents, comparing it to old checks. The timestamp shows 11:42 p.m., long after Dad is in bed. We've got another piece of the puzzle, Gordon says over coffee the next morning, his voice low even as Dad trims the hedges during a lucid period. Cedar Ridge Manor requires an $85,000 upfront payment for their premium suite, the exact sum Clayton needs to cover his investment losses. I stare into my coffee, the pieces forming a clear picture. We won't confront them yet. Surprising myself with restraint, I decide we need an airtight case first. Gordon nods approvingly. You're thinking like a lawyer now. Later that afternoon, Dr. Morgan performs her weekly assessment on one of Dad's clear days. The difference is striking without the mystery sedative. His eyes are alert, his hands steady as he waters Mom's ferns. Leonard has mild cognitive impairment, she confirms as we watch Dad from the kitchen window, but he retains full decision-making capacity when properly medicated. She hands me her formal assessment, another key document for our growing file. 2 days later, Clayton texts that he's bringing realtor Trent Holloway for a final walkthrough before listing. I arrange the evidence in a leather portfolio Mom gave me when I started my first marketing job and wait in the foyer, under Eleanor's favorite landscape painting. The doorbell rings at exactly 10. Clayton enters first, his charcoal suit sharply contrasting the casual polos he wore building the backyard deck. Behind him, Trent Holloway's polished appearance, sandy hair, Brooks Brothers tie, Rolex, marks him as the consummate professional. "Mr. Holloway," I say, extending my hand before Clayton can speak. "I should inform you this house isn't legally available for sale." Clayton flushes. "My sister is struggling to accept our father's decision," he says, placing a hand on Holloway's shoulder to guide him past me. I hold my ground. "Actually, I have documentation you should review first, for your professional protection." The realtor hesitates, glancing between us. "This is Dr. Morgan's capacity assessment," I explain, handing him the first document, confirming my father retains decision-making ability when properly medicated. These photographs document medication tampering, including non-prescribed sedatives coordinated with scheduled visits. Holloway's expression shifts from annoyance to concern. "This is video evidence of my brother practicing Dad's signature on blank documents," I continue, showing a time-stamped still image on my tablet. "And this is a legal analysis from Gordon Cooper, former senior partner at Westlake Legal, regarding the outdated power of attorney my brother intends to use." Holloway takes a deliberate step back, straightening his tie. "I can't participate in a disputed property sale," he says, his professional demeanor faltering slightly. Clayton insists, "You assured me this would be straightforward." "It is straightforward, Clayton," I reply. "But I'll need clear documentation of current power of attorney and capacity assessments before proceeding." Holloway interrupts, already moving toward the door. "Call my office when it's resolved." The front door closes behind him, leaving Clayton's carefully maintained facade cracking, revealing desperation. "You have no right to interfere," he hisses. "Do you realize what this house could sell for?" I stand taller, calm. "I have every right to protect my father. The authorities will agree." Something in my tone, certainty or implied authority, makes him pause. "This is a temporary setback," he mutters, adjusting his cuffs. "The house will sell, Stevie. Dad can't live here forever, and you know it." I say nothing as he exits, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the stained glass panels Dad restored last year. The victory feels measured but meaningful, a battle won in what promises to be a longer conflict. 20 minutes later, Gordon arrives, his expression brightening as I recount what happened. "You handled that perfectly." "Stevie," he says, squeezing my shoulder. My phone rings, Dr. Morgan calling with Dad's blood test results. "We have medical evidence now," she confirms. "The blood work shows the sedative, which strengthens your case significantly." As I hang up, Martha Walsh from next door appears in the kitchen doorway, carrying a casserole dish, her silver hair catching the afternoon light. "We saw that realtor leaving," she says, placing the dish on the counter. "Everyone's been worried about Len. Bill and I noticed he only seems confused when Clarissa's around." She lowers her voice. "The whole block is talking about how you stood up to Clayton. The support feels like sunlight breaking through clouds." For the first time since this began, I realize I'm not alone. Dad shuffles into the kitchen, steadier today. He glances at the casserole, then at me, a moment of clarity in his eyes. "Eleanor would be proud of you," he says, reaching for my hand, protecting our home. Gordon clears his throat, his lawyer composure briefly faltering. "We've bought time, Stevie, but Clayton won't give up easily." As Martha leaves, promising to organize neighborhood watch shifts, Morgan calls again with her final report. "I've documented everything for a potential elder abuse case," she says. "The question now is whether to file formal charges." I look at Dad as he stands by the window, gazing at Mom's garden. The roses need pruning, the soil turning. The bench a fresh coat of paint, all tasks he can still manage on good days. All connections to Mom he would lose at Cedar Ridge Manor. Should I press charges now? I wonder aloud after hanging up, or build a stronger case for full protection. The weight of the decision settles on me as I join Dad at the window. Watching a hummingbird hover near Mom's fuchsia, the same view he's treasured for 35 years. Gordon's dining room table is buried under papers, bank statements, medical records, prescription bottles lined up like chess pieces. 1 week after confronting the realtor, I'd transformed my uncle's home into a hybrid war room and detective office. "Hand me that blue folder," I said, not looking up from the timeline I was building. Every suspicious transaction, every medication change, every day Dad seemed unusually confused, all plotted with precision. Gordon slid the folder across. "You've become quite the investigator." I didn't respond. The anger that fueled me during the realtor confrontation had burned away, replaced by a colder, more focused, detached objectivity I'd never experienced. The timeline revealed patterns invisible in isolation. Clayton's visits always preceded large withdrawals. Clarissa's solo medication sessions always preceded Dad's bad days. Clayton will escalate, I said, tapping my pencil against a bullet-pointed notepad. The realtor was just the opening move. He'll claim I'm obstructing necessary care. Gordon nodded, adjusting his reading glasses. People who rush these fights often lose, Stevie. Your brother has resources. Clarissa has medical credentials. They present well. I studied a photo of Dad's pill organizer, comparing each compartment with his prescriptions. I can't afford anger right now, I said. Dad needs clear thinking. The dining room windows framed Gordon's backyard maples, their leaves turning copper in the sunlight, the same trees Mom had pointed out 30 years ago, teaching me to distinguish sugar maples from red maples. We need to protect Len medically. Legally and financially, Gordon said, spreading 3 separate legal pads before me. 1 page isn't enough. I pulled Mom's leather-bound address book from my bag, opening the inventory I'd begun. This house isn't just property, I said, running my finger down the list. Dad's workshop tools he taught Clayton to use, the lathe when he was 12. Mom's gardening bench where she taught me to plant bulbs, the Dutch door Dad installed so Mom could get fresh air without letting neighborhood cats in. Gordon watched me, expression softening. You're thinking like a professional now, treating this like a hostile business takeover. The comparison resonated. In marketing, I'd learned to separate emotions from strategy, to analyze competitor campaigns without taking their moves personally. Clayton wasn't just my brother now. He was an adversary with objectives, tactics, and exploitable weaknesses. 3-pronged strategy, I said, writing in bold across a fresh page. New legal documents, medical intervention, financial protection. Get it? Gordon nodded. The realtor confrontation had felt satisfying, but it was just one battle. This required sustained campaign thinking. I closed Mom's address book gently, its leather worn from decades of her hands opening it to call friends and organize gatherings. We need systems, not just documents, I said, opening my laptop. I created folders with clinical precision, medication logs, financial transactions, cognitive assessments. Daily care tasks became opportunities for evidence collection. Dr. Morgan arrived about an hour later. Carrying a worn leather medical bag that looked like it belonged to another time, she placed a new prescription bottle on the table. This is the correct treatment plan, she said, her voice carrying the calm confidence that comes from 40 years in geriatric medicine. I've marked the administration schedule. Record his responses daily. She demonstrated the proper way to log each medication, explaining the expected effects compared to what we'd been observing. This isn't just about proving misconduct, she added. It's about documenting his true cognitive function when his medication is properly managed. Gordon spread a series of legal documents across the table. These will be ready for Len's signature during his next confirmed lucid period, he said. New power of attorney, naming both you and me as co-agents. The healthcare directive will be revised as well. I nodded, absorbing the legal details while my thoughts raced ahead. We'll need observers when I can't be there, I said. The Harrisons across the street. Martin next door, people who can quietly monitor visitors without drawing suspicion. Financial protection comes first, Gordon said, sliding another folder forward. I've prepared documents to freeze his major accounts. No transactions occur without dual approval. I opened my own folder, research on elder financial abuse laws, past case rulings and evidence requirements. Not light reading, but necessary groundwork. We'll install small, legal cameras in the medication areas, I said. Discreet, but with high resolution, Dr. Morgan nodded in approval. Document everything, without alerting them, she advised. Once they know you're building a case, they'll adjust their strategy. A coordinated plan began to take shape, each person assuming a defined role. Gordon managed the legal framework. Dr. Morgan oversaw medical evidence. The neighbors organized a quiet rotation for observation. Together, every element reinforced our position, while Clayton remained unaware of the full extent of our preparation. My phone rang suddenly. Gordon's expression tightened as I answered. Ms. Cooper, this is Sandra Wilkins from Adult Protective Services, the voice on the other end said. We've received a report concerning your father, Leonard Cooper. My stomach sank. The room seemed to tilt. A complaint? My voice sounded distant, unfamiliar. Yes, she continued. Your brother has raised concerns about isolation and medication management. We're required to investigate all reports. I'll need to schedule a home visit. After ending the call, I gripped the edge of the table. They're trying to take Dad away completely, I whispered to Gordon. Dr. Morgan placed a steady hand on my shoulder. This was predictable, she said. Clayton's escalating because the realtor approach failed. I'll testify to Leonard's actual condition and treatment. The papers on the table blurred for a moment as panic threatened to overtake reason. Then clarity returned. This was no longer just about the house. It was about Dad's freedom and his dignity. I straightened, facing both of them. They're playing hardball, I said evenly, despite the tension beneath my voice. So will we. 2 days later, Gordon's dining room in his restored Victorian craftsman had transformed into our command. Center maps of legal jurisdictions and charts of Dad's medication cycles covered the mahogany walls. Dad's pill organizer, the one I retrieved from his birthday party, sat, sealed in an evidence bag beside Dr. Morgan's signed statement about the unidentified sedative. This isn't just about preventing a house sale anymore, Gordon said, reading glasses perched on his nose as he reviewed the files. This is systematic elder abuse, with potential criminal implications. I nodded, scanning another bank statement showing Clarissa's $800 withdrawal marked simply as household. Dad's monthly expenses hadn't exceeded $400 since Mom passed. How's the video documentation progressing? Dr. Morgan asked, entering with her medical bag, her silver-rimmed glasses catching the afternoon light. All cameras are operational in the medication areas and entry points, I replied, sliding my laptop toward her. The screen showed Dad in his workshop, carefully sanding a birdhouse, steady hands, focused expression. It was one of his clear periods after receiving his proper dosage that morning. Excellent, Dr. Morgan said. I'll verify his mental capacity while he's lucid. Make sure everything is dated and time-stamped. Gordon pushed a thick stack of paperwork across the table. New power of attorney, naming you and me as co-agents. Updated healthcare directive gives you primary authority. Financial. Safeguards. Dual signatures required for any withdrawal over $500. I rested my hand briefly on the documents. Each page was another layer of protection around Dad, around Mom's garden, around everything they built. The elder abuse hotline is on your speed dial. Gordon continued. So are the prosecutor's office and 3 support networks that specialize in medication manipulation cases. My eyes drift toward the window where Dad's profile is visible through the open workshop door. His steady movements, measuring twice, cutting once, echo through decades of memory. Each precise stroke of his saw strengthens my determination. We're preparing for war, I say quietly. Not just another dispute. The words still feel foreign. Only weeks ago, I was managing marketing campaigns for sustainable coffee brands. Now, I'm compiling evidence of medication tampering and financial exploitation with the precision of a federal investigator. I trace the timeline we've created. The blue dots mark Dad's clear days, perfectly aligning with the green ones showing when I gave him his medication. The red dots, his confused periods, overlap with Clarissa's administration schedule. The pattern is undeniable. Dr. Morgan glances toward the organized binder I've assembled. Your documentation is impressive, Stevie. Most families don't realize what's happening until the accounts are drained and the house is gone. Her validation should feel reassuring, but instead it deepens the weight pressing on my shoulders. Dad trusted Clayton. He welcomed Clarissa into our family. Their betrayal isn't only financial, it's a strike against the foundation of everything we built. Phone vibrates with a security alert. I open the notification. Footage shows Clarissa entering the main house through the back door, the one that leads to Dad's office, where my laptop usually sits. She's here, I say, heart racing, and she's heading toward my computer. Gordon leans over my shoulder, studying the footage. Did you leave any of our notes out? The sinking feeling in my stomach answers before I do. Last night, I printed the full protection timeline and left it beside the laptop. I whisper. They might know what we're planning. The implication settles heavily across the room. If Clayton and Clarissa suspect we're documenting their actions, they'll accelerate their plan, destroy evidence, change tactics. My phone rings. Clayton's name flashes across the screen. I answer on speaker. "Hey, sis," he says, his tone carrying that forced cheer that always precedes bad news. "Just wanted to let you know we're touring Cedar Ridge Manor tomorrow. They've got an opening in their memory care wing." Perfect timing, right? The casual cruelty in his voice knocks the air from my chest. Through the window, I can still see Dad measuring a piece of cedar for a birdhouse roof. The same hands that built our home, that held mine at Mom's funeral, now move with steady purpose. "Clayton," I start, trying to keep my tone even. Gordon shakes his head sharply, mouthing, "Don't reveal anything." I swallow my anger. "I'll check my schedule," I manage when I hang up. Dr. Morgan's expression is firm. If they suspect you've uncovered the medication tampering, they'll adjust their approach, something subtler, harder to trace. "What?" I ask. Gordon gathers the legal files into a folder. "We need to move now. No more waiting for the perfect timing." Through the open window, I catch fragments of Clarissa's voice as she leaves Dad's office. "We need to move quickly. They're collecting evidence." Her words confirm our worst fear. Our carefully planned timeline has just shortened from weeks to hours. "The new power of attorney is ready," Gordon says quietly. "We just need Len's signature during a documented clear period." Dr. Morgan checks her watch. "I'll be here tomorrow morning." His medication levels should peak then. I act fast, messaging our neighbor Martha, who's agreed to stay overnight. The security feed now streams to my phone for hourly checks. Tomorrow. Everything depends on tomorrow. I arrange the dining room for the signing, positioning the camera to capture every angle. The notary is scheduled for 10 a.m., when Dad is usually most lucid. As night falls, I make one final inspection of the house and security system. The cameras show Dad in his workshop, admiring the finished birdhouse. Outside his window, Mom's roses glow in the last light of day. Tomorrow, we take back control, I whisper toward her memory as I set the alarm. Behind me, the binder of evidence stands ready. The cameras record in silence. The documents await their signatures. Our defenses are complete. At 8:42 the next morning, a plain white van pulls into the driveway. Two attendants in light blue scrubs step out, followed by Clayton in a tailored suit. Clarissa emerges last, poised, professional, her clinic administrator's composure perfectly intact. I freeze at the kitchen window, coffee mug suspended midair. Dad sits at the table behind me, calmly spreading strawberry jam on his toast. "Stevie?" he asks, his voice clear and steady, more lucid than usual. "Is someone here?" Before I can respond, the doorbell rings, a firm triple chime that feels almost official. My stomach sinks. "It's just Clayton," I say, forcing calm. "Finish your breakfast, Dad." I open the front door, blocking the entrance with my body. Clayton's smile is polished and professional, but his eyes reveal something sharper, desperation. "Good morning, Stephanie," he says loudly, ensuring the neighbors can hear. "We're here to help Dad with his transition to Cedar Ridge Manor. The transport team's ready to make it smooth." I grip the doorframe. There's been no agreement to any transition. Clayton withdraws a folder from his briefcase. "Emergency guardianship papers," he says. "Signed yesterday by Judge Westbrook. Dad's unsafe here without professional supervision." My mind scrambles to process his words while scanning for Gordon's car. Not due for another hour. Dr. Morgan won't arrive until 10. Clayton has timed this perfectly. "Let us in." "Stevie," Clarissa says softly, her voice coded and practiced. "Concern. Leonard needs proper care. The facility doctor has reviewed his file and agrees with the assessment. A few neighbors have paused their routines to watch Mrs. Downing waters her petunias with deliberate slowness. Bill Harrison retrieves his newspaper at an equally unhurried pace. You can't just take him," I protest. But Clayton brushes past me, the attendants following with practiced detachment. "Dad," Clayton calls as he strides into the kitchen. "Remember we talked about Cedar Ridge? Today's the day." Dad looks up from his half-eaten toast, confusion clouding his eyes. "Today? But I haven't packed anything." "These gentlemen will help with that," Clarissa says, placing a reassuring hand on Dad's shoulder. "Just the essentials for now." "Thank you for watching." The taller attendant, Rick, according to his badge, speaks in the calm tone of someone used to this routine. "Mr. Cooper, we'll make this quick and comfortable. Your room is ready?" I move between them and Dad. "Show me the emergency guardianship." Clayton hands me a document. confidence radiating from him. I scan it quickly. Years in marketing have trained me to absorb dense text fast. The language is full of legal phrasing, but certain words stand out. Immediate danger. Inadequate supervision. Declining cognitive state. This is based on lies, I say, trying to keep my voice steady. Dad has full-time care. From you, Clarissa replies with professional sympathy that doesn't reach her eyes. Without medical training? The attendants move past me, one heading upstairs with an empty duffel bag, the other opening cabinets in search of medication. Stop, I say. But even to me, my voice sounds distant. Dad rises, confusion deepening the lines on his face. Eleanor wouldn't want me to leave the roses, he murmurs, looking toward the garden where Mom's prized flowers still bloom. I promised her. Clarissa removes a small pill case from her purse. Leonard, you're getting upset. Let me give you something to help you stay calm during the transfer. I lunge forward, but Clayton blocks me. This is happening, Stevie, he says evenly. Dad signed the POA, I have guardianship now. That POA was signed when he was overmedicated, I reply, my voice firming. You've been drugging him. Clayton's smile doesn't fade, but his eyes harden. Careful, Stephanie. Statements like that could be considered slander. Keep resisting and you'll face criminal charges for elder endangerment. A police cruiser pulls up behind the transport van. Officer Ramirez steps out, the same officer who helped when Dad wandered off last winter. Requested police presence to ensure a peaceful transfer. Clayton explains loudly to the gathering neighbors, his tone polished with regretful concern. My sister can become emotional. My heart pounds. Dad stares blankly at the pill in Clarissa's palm. Upstairs, drawers open. The countdown to losing everything has begun. Then Gordon's Lincoln Continental screeches into the driveway, blocking the transport van. He steps out, leather briefcase in hand, followed by Dr. Morgan carrying her medical bag. They move with the steady precision of people who've prepared for this exact moment. Perfect timing, I whisper, relief rushing through me. Gordon doesn't waste words. He walks straight to Officer Ramirez, extending a folder. Officer, I have a court order protecting Leonard Cooper pending a capacity hearing next week. These emergency proceedings were filed without proper notice to family or medical providers. Clayton's confidence falters. Gordon, this doesn't concern you. As Leonard's brother and co-agent on his most recent power of attorney, it absolutely does, Gordon replies without looking at him. Dr. Morgan moves to Dad's side, gently taking the pill from Clarissa's hand. I'll need to document any medication being administered, Mrs. Hale, she says, her tone professional but authoritative. I grab my tablet from the counter and pull up the security footage from the cameras we installed after the realtor incident. Officer Ramirez, I have video evidence showing my brother and his wife tampering with Dad's medication. Dr. Morgan confirmed it's a non-prescribed sedative. The attendants exchange uneasy glances. Rick steps away from Dad's pill organizer, hands raised slightly. Maybe we should pause the transfer until this is clarified, the second attendant suggests, clearly realizing this isn't a routine pickup. Officer Ramirez looks between the conflicting documents, her expression carefully neutral. I think everyone should stay here while I verify these claims. Clayton's composed demeanor cracks slightly. Officer, my sister's been keeping Dad isolated. She's blocking essential care. That's not true. Mrs. Downing calls from her porch. Stevie takes Leonard to Dr. Morgan every week. I've driven them myself, murmurs. Of agreement rise from the neighbors. The community we've quietly built, through months of preparation, now stands behind me. I hand Officer Ramirez a thumb drive. This contains records showing my brother billed Dad's accounts for consulting work at 4 times market rate. Cedar Ridge Manor requires an $85,000 upfront payment, the same amount he needs to cover his failed tech investment. Clarissa steps forward, eyes glistening. We only want what's best for Leonard. Dr. Morgan kneels beside Dad, checking his pupils and pulse. Mr. Cooper appears overmedicated. His speech is slurred, and his pupils are constricted. Dr. Morgan, Officer Ramirez says, speaking into her radio, I'm requesting a supervisor and an elder services representative. We've reached the turning point, the moment that will decide who the authorities believe, and who ultimately gains control. Dad grips my hand, his fingers cold and trembling. Stevie, he says, his words slightly slurred. Something's wrong. I'm here, Dad. Stay with us, I reply, holding his hand firmly between both of mine. Help is on the way. Dr. Morgan records his symptoms meticulously, capturing every detail. These signs match the non-prescribed medication found in his system last week. Clayton paces by the window, phone pressed to his ear. This is completely unnecessary, he mutters, mostly to himself. She's been keeping him isolated, officer. Gordon arranges evidence on the dining room table, the same table where this nightmare began, on Dad's birthday. Independent medical assessments, financial records, and video documentation are all organized chronologically, he explains to Officer Ramirez. A sedan pulls into our already crowded driveway. Diana Wilson from Elder Services steps out, followed by Detective Barrett. The officer secures the premises to ensure no one leaves until the situation is resolved. The truth comes out now, I whisper to Dad. He squeezes my hand with surprising strength. His eyes lock with mine for a brief moment of clarity. I never wanted to leave our home, Stevie. The detective enters the room, observing medical professionals, attendants, family members, and neighbors. The final confrontation that will decide everything is about to begin. I stay beside Dad's chair, hand still in his. Whatever happens, he won't face it alone. Elder Services investigator Diane Williams positions herself in the center of the living room, notebook open, pen ready. Her silver-rimmed glasses catch the light as she surveys the tense scene. Clayton in his tailored suit, Clarissa with perfect posture, Detective Roberts reviewing evidence by the window, and me holding Dad's trembling hand. I'd like to speak with Mr. Cooper alone, Williams announces, her voice calm but firm. Absolutely not, Clayton steps forward, hand in his suit pocket. My father is disoriented. Anything he says would be inadmissible. Williams remains steady. Sir, I've been assessing capacity for 27 years. And I'm his son, Clayton counters. You have no right, Detective Roberts interrupts, reviewing the folder I prepared. This medical directive, signed 3 weeks ago, grants Miss Cooper and Mr. Gordon Cooper medical advocacy rights. The documents are properly notarized. Clayton's face flushes dark red. Impossible. My father hasn't been capable of signing legal papers for months. Dr. Morgan steps forward, medical bag in hand. I evaluated Leonard Cooper at the time of signing. We have video proof showing he had decisional capacity. She produces a tablet. Would you like to see it now, Detective? The medical technician kneels beside Dad, gently taking his wrist. Mr. Cooper, may I draw some blood for testing? He can't consent, Clayton steps forward. Gordon Cooper has power of attorney. Roberts responds firmly. He's already authorized the procedure. Uncle Gordon stands in the doorway, arms crossed, watching Clayton with both sadness and resolve. Clay, this has gone far enough. The technician labels the blood vial while Williams flips through my binder of evidence. Her eyebrows lift slightly as she reviews medication logs with photos. These show a consistent pattern, she murmurs to Roberts. Blue pills appear only on days Mrs. Hale administered them. That matches the video evidence, Roberts confirms, glancing at his tablet. The living room screen shows footage of Clarissa placing unlabeled pills in Dad's organizer 3 days ago. The timestamp is clear and undeniable. Clayton's composed facade falters. His eyes widen, then narrow as he calculates. Detective, I say, keeping my voice steady despite the anger. Our financial documentation begins on page 12. Highlighted entries show $58,400 billed to Dad's accounts for consulting fees never rendered. Williams turns pages deliberately, studying the bank statements. Mrs. Hale, can you explain these cash withdrawals? 6 withdrawals of $700 each, marked as household expenses but with no receipts. Clarissa's composed expression falters. Leonard wanted cash available. He gets anxious about money sometimes, Roberts interjects. Interesting, because Mr. Cooper's calendar shows he was at physical therapy during 3 of these withdrawals, the ones you signed for. The medical technician stands, holding a testing kit. Detective, preliminary results show benzodiazepine in his system, not matching any prescribed medications. Dad's breathing quickens. His hand tightens around mine. Stevie, he whispers, eyes wide with confusion. It's okay, Dad. We're just sorting things out, I assure him, though anger pulses beneath my calm exterior. Detective Roberts approaches Clarissa. Mrs. Hale, do you have any prescription medications in your possession? Of course not. Just my purse essentials, she replies, her smile failing to reach her eyes. Would you consent to a search of your purse? Clarissa hesitates, glancing at Clayton. I don't see why that's necessary. I can obtain a warrant, Robert says mildly. Clarissa's shoulders sag. Fine, if it will end this charade. Roberts methodically examines the purse, removing a small, unmarked pill bottle. Blue tablets. Can you identify these, Mrs. Hale? Clarissa falters. Supplements. For Leonard's memory. His doctor recommended them. Dr. Morgan steps forward. I'm Leonard's attending physician. I've never prescribed these supplements, and there's no record of them in his medical history. Clayton interrupts sharply. Clarissa was only trying to help. Perhaps there was some misunderstanding about his medications. Williams cuts in. Mr. Cooper, we are beyond simple misunderstandings. The financial records alone suggest a clear pattern of exploitation. Detective Roberts bags the pill bottle as evidence. Mrs. Hale, Mr. Cooper, you'll both need to step into separate rooms for questioning. This is ridiculous. Clayton protests. We're trying to provide proper care for my father, and Stevie is standing in the way because she refuses reality. Martha Wilson, the neighbor who called the police, steps forward. That isn't true. I've seen Leonard improve under Stevie's care. And I've also noticed strangers entering the house when Clarissa was alone. Realtors, contractors, measuring rooms. Williams gestures to two officers waiting nearby. Please escort Mrs. Hale to the dining room and Mr. Cooper to the study for individual statements. As Clarissa walks by, her composure cracks. Clayton handled all the paperwork, she hisses. I was just following his instructions regarding Leonard's care. Clayton's jaw tightens. Don't say another word, Clarissa. The rooms shift as they're led away. Detective Roberts turns to me, expression serious but satisfied. Ms. Cooper, preliminary evidence raises serious concerns about your father's safety under the prior arrangement. Williams reviews her notes. We will issue an emergency protective order and appoint you temporary guardian pending court review. Elder Services will freeze Leonard Cooper's financial accounts to prevent further exploitation. Uncle Gordon grips my shoulder. They never expected this level of preparation, Stevie. The medical technician coordinates with Dr. Morgan on correct medication protocols. Once the sedative is out of his system, improvement should be visible within days. Roberts secures the pill organizer, financial documents, and Clarissa's purse as evidence. We are opening a criminal investigation. Elder abuse is treated very seriously here. Neighbors Martha and two others approach. We've been concerned for weeks. We're happy to provide statements about what we've observed. Williams offers a brief smile. That will be very helpful. Through the dining room windows, I see Clarissa seated alone, face in her hands. Through the study doorway, Clayton paces, phone pressed to his ear, gesturing as an officer observes. Their world collapses while ours begins to rebuild. The restraining order is effective immediately, Williams explains. Neither of them may contact Leonard or enter this property. Dad's eyes seem clearer already, though I know the sedative will take hours to leave his system. There's a light in his expression I haven't seen in weeks. Eleanor's roses, he murmurs, glancing toward the garden. They're safe now. Dr. Morgan reviews Dad's medications with the technician. We'll supervise a proper tapering schedule. With correct management, we should see significant cognitive improvement. The front door opens as more neighbors arrive, drawn by police activity and concerned messages. Small groups gather, offering quiet support. Mrs. Jensen brings a casserole. For dinner tonight, she explains. I'll be back tomorrow with breakfast. Mr. Patterson, who taught chemistry with Mom, steps forward. Some of us can set up rotations for property watches, transportation to appointments, whatever you need. Williams watches the community mobilization approvingly. Your documentation was extraordinary, Ms. Cooper. Most families don't notice issues until assets are depleted. Uncle Gordon shakes his head. Ben Cooper's daughter through and through, meticulous when it matters most. I kneel beside Dad's chair as Roberts coordinates with officers. His fingers, once strong enough to build this house beam by beam, trace the pattern on the armchair Eleanor reupholstered 20 years ago. You saved our home. Stevie, he says, voice strengthening as the fog lifts. Detective Roberts closes his notebook. Without your intervention, this could have ended tragically. Too many cases go unnoticed until it's too late. I watch through the window as Clayton and Clarissa are escorted to separate vehicles, not under arrest yet, but fully removed from Dad's life. The weight pressing on me since that birthday dinner finally lifts. Dad's home remains his sanctuary. Mom's roses continue to bloom under his care. Stevie? Dad whispers, squeezing my hand firmly. Thank you for believing me when I couldn't explain what was happening. Always. Dad, always. I rest my head against his shoulder, feeling the cotton of his favorite blue shirt against my cheek. 1 month later, I'm in Mom's garden pruning the June roses that survived another Northwest winter. Their scent mingles with the coffee steam rising from my mug on the stone bench Dad installed during Mom's chemotherapy, so she could still tend the flowers comfortably. Morning, kiddo. Dad appears in the kitchen doorway, dressed in khakis and the blue flannel I bought him last Christmas. No bathrobe, no confusion about the day. Morning, Dad. Sleep okay? I clip a spent bloom into my basket, like a rock. Coffee smells good. This simple exchange would have been impossible 6 weeks ago when Clayton and Clarissa's medication tampering left him barely able to speak. Now the cloud has lifted. Dr. Morgan notes that cognition may never fully return to pre-tampering levels, but the improvement is remarkable. Dad settles on the bench, newspaper tucked under his arm. The daily ritual we've reclaimed, Gordon says, opening to the crossword. Clayton's suspension from Ridgeway Capital was terminated yesterday. I focus on a particularly stubborn Kane needing attention. The aftermath hit our community like summer thunder. Clayton facing criminal charges for elder exploitation. Clarissa's nursing license under review. Their penthouse dreams replaced with mounting legal fees. How do you feel about that? I ask, watching Dad. He considers the question, pencil tapping his knee. I should feel worse about my own son's downfall. But every morning I wake clear-headed in the house Eleanor and I built. He gestures toward the garden, workshop, and preserved life. Seems like justice to me. Mrs. Farnsworth waves over the fence, gloves caked with soil. Tuesday on our neighborhood schedule. Checking in, bringing lunch, providing company when needed. The calendar on our refrigerator blooms with names. A community mobilized once they understood what had been happening under their noses. Stevie? Dad's voice brings me back. That foundation paperwork Gordon brought over, have you decided? The Eleanor Cooper Foundation. Gordon's idea, born from late-night strategy sessions at his dining room table. Focusing on education about elder financial abuse, resources for families, a legacy shaped from our ordeal. I'm meeting with the lawyer this afternoon, I say, pausing mid-snip with the pruning shears. Think Mom would approve? Dad smiles, his clear blue eyes fully present. She'd say it's about time something good grew from something terrible. My laptop chimes with an incoming video call. The remote position with Watershed Marketing pays 30% less than my old job, but offers the flexibility caregiving demands. My supervisor understands when appointments interrupt deadlines. Don't forget you're meeting Gordon and Dr. Morgan for lunch, Dad reminds me. Surprising both of us with this evidence of his improving memory. Something about permanent guardianship papers? The court finalized our arrangement last week. Gordon and I serve as co-guardians. All new advance directives properly filed. No more legal gray areas for anyone to exploit. 2 o'clock at Madeline's, I confirm, gathering my pruning basket. Want to come along? We could stop by the senior center afterward. The center is where Dad now participates 3 times a week in the woodworking program, teaching younger retirees the joinery techniques that built this house. Another piece of normalcy reclaimed. I move inside for my call, watching through the window as Dad completes his crossword in the morning light. 6 months ago, I couldn't have imagined this. The constant tension of vigilance finally loosening between my shoulders. My phone buzzes with a text from Barbara Wilkins. Her mother had started showing symptoms similar to Dad's decline. After hearing our story, she took her mother for an independent medical evaluation and discovered similar medication issues with her brother-in-law. Documentation worked, her message reads. Restraining order granted yesterday. I type back, document everything. Build your team. Trust your instincts. The mantra that saved us. Later that afternoon, I find Dad in his workshop, sanding the curved back of a garden bench, a wedding gift for Gordon's daughter. His movements are precise, confident, his craftsmanship undiminished. The foundation approval came through, I tell him, running my hand over the smooth oak. We're official. He nods, setting aside his sandpaper. Your mother would be proud of you, Stevie, not just for saving the house, but for helping others protect what matters. This is the man who, a year ago, couldn't remember where he kept his sandpaper, the same man Clayton insisted needed institutionalization for his own good. Last week, the local newspaper featured our story, highlighting warning signs of elder exploitation. 3 families have already reached out through Dr. Morgan's office, seeking guidance for situations similar to ours. Camilla's coming tomorrow afternoon, I remind Dad, referring to the part-time caregiver we hired. Not because Dad needs constant supervision anymore, but because I've learned that protecting him also means protecting myself from burnout. Good. I can show her how to prune the rhododendrons, Dad says, returning to his sanding with the steady rhythm that built this house beam by beam. Through the workshop window, Eleanor's roses catch the late afternoon light, vibrant against the weathered cedar siding. Next year, on Dad's 73rd birthday, we'll host a proper celebration in the dining room. Gordon, Dr. Morgan, neighbors, Camilla, all raising glasses in the home that remains ours. And perhaps someday, we'll finally take that trip to Acadia National Park that Mom always wanted. I can almost see us standing on Cadillac Mountain for sunrise, Dad squeezing my hand as light breaks over the Atlantic. But for now, this is enough. Dad in his workshop, roses blooming where Mom planted them, foundation paperwork signed on the kitchen counter. Love made visible not just through emotion, but through vigilance, clear boundaries, and the courage to protect what matters. I watch Dad at work, his hands steady on wood chosen for its grain, and I recognize the truest lesson of our ordeal. If you notice a loved one becoming confused only after someone else administers their medication, don't question your instincts. Document everything, build your team, and never stop advocating for the family that matters.